Story 1. The Scent of Cedar. Morning prayers in a Kyoto monastery. Good evening, friends. Dim your lights. Settle under a warm blanket and let your breath fall into rhythm with the pace of the past. You're in no hurry here. If this slow journey brings you peace, you can tap like and subscribe, but only if it feels right. The world is still dark when you awaken. You feel the cool floor beneath your mat. The scent of cedar, dry and deeply familiar, lingers in the air, mingling with the faintest trace of smoke. Outside the shutters, the insects have quieted, and the crows have not yet begun their arguments with the dawn. You are a monk in the year 1274. This is Enryokaji, a mountain temple complex above Kyoto, nestled on sacred Mount Hiei, the temple. Grounds are wide, shadowed, layered with history. Your life is one of routine, silence, and small devotions. Each day, every hour, shaped not by ambition, but by presence. Your first duty begins with the bell, not the great Bonshu bell that calls the mountain awake, but a smaller, wooden instrument, gently tapped. Its soft clack echoes down the hallway. You rise with the others, 50 or so bodies wrapped in robes, all moving slowly, reverently, in unison. No one speaks. Speech belongs to the scriptures, and those will come soon enough. Your robe rustles as you dress. Woven from coarse cotton, it is tied with a sash of hemp. The fabric smells faintly of camphor and old smoke, having dried for months above the kitchen fire. Each fold is deliberate, preserving the balance of form and mind. The ritual of dressing is a meditation in itself. The corridor creaks beneath your steps. Wooden planks, darkened with age, guide you past quiet chambers and storage rooms, holding scrolls, bowls, spare sandals, jars of pickled plum, and offerings left by villagers. The wall paintings are faded. Delicate pine trees bend toward imaginary. Winds, their colors now the soft brown of memory. You reach the hall of prayers. The air is cooler here. It smells of incense and wood, mostly ground into a fine powder and burned before dawn. You bow before the altar. Your knees touch the straw mat, and your fingers find their place against your chest in gasho. This is the stillness before the first syllable. Someone begins the chant. The voice is low, slow, vibrating gently within the ribs. Then another joins, then another. Before long, you are part of 100 voices, each folding into the next. The Heart Sutra rises around you, not recited, but lived, breathed, sustained like the temple itself. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form, ... The chant slows time. Words lose their meaning and become texture, like wind moving through tall grass. You lose sense of yourself. You are no longer one monk, but part of the greater rhythm, the pulsing hush of faith that has echoed across these beams for centuries. Your legs begin to numb. The pain is not unwelcome. It reminds you that this body is impermanent, like everything else. You shift slightly, enough to restore the flow of blood without breaking posture. The light begins to change. Morning filters through the paper screens in pale gold threads. After prayers, you rise again. The hall empties quietly. Some go to the meditation room, others to sweep the courtyard or boil water. You remain behind, helping fold the robes left behind by older monks, too frail to kneel. Each robe is treated as sacred, brushed, smooth, folded thrice, placed atop cedar shelves. The smell of the wood deepens as the room warms. A novice bows to you as he enters. His robes are loose. He has not yet mastered the delicate fold that keeps the fabric from dragging. You show him gently, without words. He watches closely, learns through the silence. That too is the way of the monastery. In the distance, the large bronze bell finally tolls. A single, resonant note. It rolls down the mountain, over the trees, into the villagers still rubbing sleep from their eyes. Another day has begun. But here, within these cedar walls, it began long ago with the soundless breath of waking monks, and the scent of incense curling upward into the morning sky. Did you notice the way the sun touched the rice paper walls, or the hush in the room after chanting stopped? These small moments are noticed by history were the whole of a monk's life. Brooms, bowls, and the bell tower patha, morning deepens, and sunlight spills across the courtyard in golden slivers, filtered through swaying branches of pine and hinoki cypress. A soft wind moves the bamboo blinds hanging at the edge of the temple's walkways, and the day's first real sound beyond chant and breaths the rhythmic sweep of straw brooms. On stone, you take up your broom, a handmade thing bound with thin vine twine and stiff stalks of brush grass. Its handle is smooth from use, and it creaks softly with each motion. The courtyard is not large, but it is sacred. Its gravel must be combed, its leaves gathered, its stones reset if displaced by rain or passing feet. Cleanliness here is not simply hygiene. It is attention, devotion, reflection of the mind. Each sweep is slow, steady. You notice a beetle trudging across a mossy edge near the stepping stones. You step aside. The smallest lives are not beneath notice. They are part of the order to the west. A junior monk tends the water basin called Chosia. Cold mountain spring water runs down a narrow bamboo pipe and splashes into a stone bowl. He scrubs it clean with a bundle of rice straw, careful not to damage the lichen that gently overtakes the rock's base. That lichen has been there for decades, maybe longer. It too has its place. You finish sweeping and stand in the temple's main walk. From here, the buildings appear like quiet sentinels, connected by covered wooden corridors that creak with the weight of history. A pair of cranes fly overhead, briefly catching the light. Their wings are pale and long, and you pause to watch. Their slow ascent above the mist. Your next task is breakfast. You walk to the curry, the temple's kitchen. It is a dim, low-beamed room, thick with the smells of miso and wood ash. A pot of rice simmers quietly over a fire of oak and cedar. The older monk at the stove nods to you. He has prepared the Shejin Ryari, the vegetarian fare followed by monastics. No garlic, no onions, no meat. The flavors are quiet, deliberate, like the day itself. There is okayu, a thin rice porridge, barely salted, a few pickled plums in a ceramic bowl, thin slices of burdock root, some dried tofu, rehydrated and softened in a broth made from kombu. Nothing is wasted, nothing is hurried. Even food is a kind of prayer. Before eating, you kneel with the others, hands pressed together. You chant the meal verse, 10,000 labors brought us this food. May we be worthy to receive it. You eat in silence, each bite slow, every flavor contemplated. The bowl is held with reverence. The spoon, a simple wood scoop, warms in your palm. There is no gluttony, no distraction, just the rhythm of chewing, swallowing, and breathing. Once finished, you pour warm tea into your bowl to cleanse it, swirling the liquid and drinking it quietly. Nothing is discarded. Even the tea, even the rinse, becomes part of the body. After breakfast, the novices are dispatched for small errands, gathering firewood, fetching supplies, tending to the compost heap, You are sent to the bell tower. The walk there is long and slightly uphill, along a narrow stone path bordered by bamboo groves and wild azaleas. The sun is higher now, casting lattice shadows across the stones. You walk slowly, listening. Every footfall against the mossy path echoes in your bones. The world feels suspended. At the top stands the SHR, the bell house built of weathered hinoki. Its wide eaves reach like arms embracing the mountain air. The great bronze bell inside is enormous, almost 2 meters tall, cast nearly 200 years ago. You run your fingers along the inscriptions, sutras etched with care, now smoothed by time and devotion. Your job is not to ring it. Not yet. You dust the beams, oil the wooden supports, sweep fallen leaves from the floor. The wind here is stronger, and the scent of the forest more pungent. You breathe deeply. The bell hums faintly in the wind. Though unmoving, it seems to hold memory in its metal skin. You sit beside it, resting bar below. The city of Kyoto stretches. Faintly in the haze its rooftops, tiled and shimmering in the growing heat. But up here, the temple floats in another world. Unrushed, untouched, alive in silence. A novice arrives to relieve you. You bow without speaking and descend the path once more, your shadow stretching behind you across the sunlit stones. The chores are finished for now. It is time for study. In the hum of the bronze, the weight of the broom, and the quiet clink of bowls, the monk's morning ripples onwards low, undisturbed, shaped by patience. What lessons lie in such stillness? Lovely. Let's now complete the day's first story with a final drift through the quiet afternoon and the soft edge of evening. Sutras at dusk, and sleep beneath paper walls by midday. The shadows in the courtyard have shortened, but the temple remains shaded and cool, hugged by trees whose branches reach protectively across the sky. You've returned from the bell tower. With your sandals dusted by moss and bark, your mind still tuned to the quiet rhythm of the mountain. You pass a row of rain, jars-wide ceramic vessels arranged to collect runoff from the tiled eaves. Each bears a faint design. Clouds, cranes, chrysanthemums. The water within reflects the sky, unbroken and silver. A few leaves float across the surface. No one removes them. They belong. The study hall is not far. Within its pale wooden walls, scrolls and codices line the low shelves. Some are bound in silk, others wrapped simply in cloth. The room is windowed on one side, allowing in a steady wash of light through paper screens. It smells of ink, cedar resin, and the dry scent of old parchment. You seat yourself beside the others. A senior monk unrolls a scroll its silk ties, loosened with care, its edge secured with a smooth stone. The words are in Kanban, Chinese characters used in Japanese style. It is a sutra, perhaps the lotus, perhaps the diamond. No one announces. The title, the words matter less than the act of reading itself. The monk's voice is soft, deliberate, each character pronounced clearly, his breath measured like a metronome. You follow the writing with your eyes, tracing the strokes silently, your lips moving without sound. Learning is never rushed here. One scroll may take weeks, even months, to absorb. Later, you are given a brush. Copying sutras is one of your sacred duties, not for practice, but for preservation, and sometimes for donation. The ink is made from pine soot, mixed with water and bound with glue from deer antler. You grind the ink stick slowly on the stone, the sound soft as sand on silk. Each stroke is a meditation. You begin with the character for heart, sin. It must be balanced, neither too thick nor too dry. The brush trembles slightly in your hand. That's all right. The imperfection belongs. The gods do not ask for perfection, only sincerity. Outside, a soft rain begins to fall. It comes gently, pattering on the shingled roof. You pause to listen. The world beyond the paper walls grows blurrier, dreamlike. Somewhere nearby, the rain jars are filling as evening nears. The temple's rhythm slows. You return to the courtyard and bow before a small shrine nestled near the footpath. It houses a Jizo statue protector of travelers and lost children. His face is round, calm, covered with a gentle dusting of moss. Someone has placed a tiny bib around his neck, bright red, handmade. You do not know who that, too, is part of temple life quiet offerings given without name. Dinner is much like breakfast. A bowl of millet, a few preserved vegetables, some tea. You eat quietly, then help wash the dishes in the outer basin where the rain still trickles from the roof. Your hands are cold, but not uncomfortable. You dry them on your robe. Twilight wraps the temple in blue-grey shadow. The bell tower rings. Again this time, just before nightfall. Its sound rolls down the mountain once more, deeper and slower, as if the mountain itself is exhaling. You sit on the wooden veranda, watching the light fade. There are no lamps, just lanterns paper-covered, oil-lit, flickering gently in the corners of the hallways. Their light casts long, breathing shadows across the floor. A novice walks past, carrying one. His face glows softly, like a ghost from another time. Your futon is rolled out in the sleeping hall. It lies directly on the tatami mat, thick enough to soften the hardness, but thin enough to keep you grounded. You wrap yourself in a faded cotton blanket. It smells faintly of smoke and cedar, the same scent you woke to. Before sleep, you recite the evening verse, lips barely moving. As I lay down to rest, may all beings find peace, ... You stare at the ceiling, the wooden beams above, dark with centuries of incense smoke. The silence is full, but not empty. It hums with unseen motion. Beetles in the rafters, wind against the paper walls, the breath of monks in quiet sleep. You close your eyes, and sleep comes gently, like a lantern dimming at the edge of a darkened hall. What becomes of a life when its measure is not ambition, but repetition? When each day mirrors the last, not in boredom, but in reverence? Perhaps the stillness itself becomes a form of prayer. Story 2. Silent Steps. A monk's sandal-making ritual, the soul beneath the soul. Good evening once more. Let your body grow still. Let your thoughts slow, like ink settling in a well. We now return to a world of quiet footsteps and woven paths. If this story brings you rest, feel free to gently subscribe, but only if it feels right to you. It begins with straw, thin, golden, pliable, yet tough, gathered at harvest, dried in bundles, sorted by length and texture, before it becomes a sandal. It rests in a corner of the storage hut, for months aging, absorbing the slow breath of seasons. You are a monk. It is the Kamakura period. The temple is smaller than those on Mount Hyath. This one sits low in a wooded valley outside the provincial capital of Kamakura. Here, your tasks are more physical. The monastery sustains itself with modest rice fields, a kitchen garden, and the labor of the body. Sandal making is not glamorous. It is not a practice whispered about in imperial courts, nor praised in poetry. But every monk needs sandals. You wear them in rain, in snow, through forest paths and muddy courtyards. And so, each month, a pair must be made. You sit on the outer walkway that runs along the edge of the temple. It is early morning. Mist clings to the pine trees. Your tools are simple. A narrow, all carved from bone, a measuring cord, a basin of warm water to soften the straw. The work begins in silence. First, you sort the rice strawware up by thickness. You wet your fingers and begin to twist the longest pieces into rope, called shimanawa. The twisting is slow, your thumbs pressing rhythmically, the fibers creaking slightly as they tighten. You hum softly, not a tune, but a vibration to pass the time. The base of the waraji, the straw sandal, must be thick enough to shield your soles, yet light enough to move quietly over temple floors. You braid the sole, first folding 3 strands over each other, reinforcing the center with a twist of palm fiber for strength. Every few moments, you pause to sip warm tea. Not to drink, but to breathe. Your teacher taught you that each sandal is like a prayer, repeated motions, guided by intention, surrendered to time as you weave. You remember the journey of these sandals. Some walk no further than the temple courtyard. Others will follow the mountain trail to a hermitage 2 days away. One pair might be worn by the abbot himself, pacing between ceremonies, leaving nearly invisible marks on the polished wood of the main hall. No pair is perfect. The toes fray, the ropes stretch, but each has its own quiet life. A novice approaches, bowing before speaking. He carries a pair of worn waraji in his hands. The soles are soft, almost translucent, their fibers loosened by countless steps. You accept them gently. They are to be burned not as trash, but as offerings. Every few weeks, used sandals are ceremonially burned in a small fire near the temple gate, their smoke rising like sutras into the sky. You make a mental note to attend the next fire. Back to your weaving. The awl pierces the braid with a gentle pop, and you thread the toe-looped 2 twists of rope anchored at the front, like a stem of a leaf. Then the heel loops. They must be tight, but forgiving. You recall the abbot's voice. Let the sandal hold the foot, not bind it. The sandal is nearly finished now. You hold it up to the light. Its form is plain, unadorned, but beautiful in its symmetry. You press your thumb into the center, testing its firmness. It yields slightly, but not too much. It will hold. You begin the second sandal, mindful to match its length precisely to the first. A monk walks behind you, broom in hand, sweeping. Pine needles. Another carries a bucket of well water to the kitchen. The temple moves around you, slow as sap in spring. You pause to stretch. Your knees ache slightly from kneeling, but the ache is familiar. The sun is higher now. Light flickers. Through the trees. Somewhere, a bell chimes once, long and low, not calling you just, reminding you that time still flows. You return to the braid, straw against skin, rope against thumb, pattern against breath. You are not just making sandals, you are learning how to walk the earth more gently, if you could. Where the footsteps of another, what stories would the souls whisper to the earth? Peacefully now, let us continue. The straw is woven, the shape formed, but before the sandals walk, they must rest, and so must you. As we follow the next thread of this humble craft, smoke offerings and the fire pit shrine, the morning has passed, and the sandals lie completed on the wooden bench beside you 2 humble, woven forms waiting to meet the earth. You do not wear them yet, not until they have been blessed, not until they have shared in the ritual fire. Each new sandal must begin its life in reverence. Just as each used one must be returned to Ashdod, it is the 4th day of the lunar week, and the hour of the horse approaches. You carry the worn pair of Waroji, the ones brought by the novice earlier, to the foot of the temple's small outdoor altar. It stands beneath a pine tree that leans westward, as if bowing toward the mountain's edge. Here is the Waraji Ko, the sandal offering rite, simple, silent, gentle. You build the fire slowly, layering bark and dried twigs with pieces of last season's rice husk. The wind moves through the pines above you, making that soft hush the kind only forests know. When the flame begins, it licks the straw slowly, almost curiously, before devouring it in steady orange threads. You do not watch for the flame's strength, you watch for its softness. The sandals curl in the fire like sleeping animals. A light, earthy scent fills the air-dry grass, a hint of old sweat, the echo of footsteps through dust and rain. It is not unpleasant. It is the memory of labor given freely. Other monks arrive, each holding a pair of sandals, old and tired. The rite is communal. Each monk places theirs on the coals. Some nod, one whispers, a verse. No one rushes, no one lectures. The fire does not require explanation. The ashes will later be buried at the edge of the temple's herb garden. The soil there is good rich with compost, monk labor, and seasonal devotion. Buried sandals become food for the roots of shiso and chrysanthemum, even shoes in this place. Return to the earth as offerings. After the fire, you carry your new sandals into the hondo, the main hall. The floorboards are wide, darkened by time and footsteps. You kneel and place the sandals at the edge of the tatami, just beside the steps that lead to the altar. You light incense, a single stick, sandalwood and clove. You bow 3 times, not quickly but with intention. The first for those who taught you, the second for those who walked before you, the third for the road ahead, whatever steps it may bring. Then you whisper a blessing not out loud, but within. May these sandals walk with quiet purpose. May they carry me gently through duty and dusk. May they wear not only the earth, but also the silence of each passing hour. The smoke rises slowly, curling toward the ceiling like a silk thread loosed from a robe. You do not yet put them on dot first. You prepare a gift. You gather extra straw and begin to braid another knot for yourself, but for the shrine keeper in the next village. His sandals were last replaced 2 seasons ago, and his walk is long. Down narrow forest paths and up into the hills where foxes and spirits are said to linger. This second pair is smaller, lighter. His gait is different. You remember how he walks with a slight outward turn of the heel and a faint hitch in his right step. Your hands adjust the braid, adjusting for the difference. Craft becomes compassion. Outside. The light has grown golden. Dust motes spin lazily in the sunbeams, slicing through the hall's slatted windows. A cicada clicks in the distance. Not urgently, just to remind you it is summer. When the sandals are finished, you wrap them in a square of old linen dyed, a gentle indigo, mended at one corner. You tie it with cord, place it in a basket. The delivery will happen after morning prayers tomorrow. You return to your own pair, and for the first time, slip your feet inside. They fit, they hold, and in the press of straw against your sole, you feel the quiet pulse of Karyuas, and that of every monk before you who has walked in shoes made by another. How many forgotten hands carry our footsteps before we ever lift our feet? And so, We arrive at the quiet close of this story, a final walk through forest paths and temple customs, guided by the faint sound of footsteps on straw. Footfalls through the forest shrine path. The new day dawns, soft and pale. Mist hugs the forest floor, curling between tree trunks like low, silent smoke. You rise before the bell, your body moving with the memory of routine. This morning's task is simple, but carries a thread of tradition, the delivery of the sandals to the mountain shrine. You dress carefully. Your new waraji are laced with calm precision, the toe straps looped firmly, the heel cords adjusted for just the right snugness. The feeling is new, yet ancient your feet cushioned by the woven memories of yesterday's labor. You take the wrapped parcel in your arms and begin the journey. The path winds through thickets of bamboo and low cedar. A stone fox statue greets. You, at the first turn its features worn smooth by time and weather. You bow briefly before passing, acknowledging the forest's guardians. They are not gods, exactly, but they are not entirely absent either. Your feet make soft sounds against the earth-dry leaves, then stone, then patches of loam. The new sandals adapt easily to the path. There we flexing with each shift in terrain. They breathe. They remember. You think again of the shrine keeper and how his feet will welcome these gifts. Halfway through the journey, you pause at a small clearing dot here. A natural spring bubbles from the roots of a twisted tree. You kneel, drink from a hollowed ladle left resting on a smooth stone. The water is cold, pure, its taste tinged with the scent of iron and moss. You wash your hands, then your face, letting droplets fall like rain across your brow. Rested, you walk on. Above you, the canopy thins. Shafts of light spill down in slow, swaying motion. The forest breathes with you, and time stretches. You are alone, but not lonely. The solitude here is soft, like worn fabric. Eventually, the shrine comes into view. It is small, just a few planks of aged wood. A Toria gate faded to grey, and a braided rope marking the sacred threshold. The shrine keeper is already there, sweeping the path with a broom of pine needles. He hears your steps and turns, bowing with a faint smile. He is older than you remember. His eyes crinkle with kindness. You present the parcel. He unwraps it slowly, fingers careful not to disturb the folds. When he sees the sandals, he breathes deeply, not in surprise, but in recognition. He nods once, then twice, then sets them at the base of the altar before turning to offer incense. You sit together for a time, not speaking. He pours you tea steeped from foraged leaves, faintly floral. The cup is chipped, the moment is whole. He tells you, in time, how his last pair lasted through an entire winter, even across snow and up the mountain pass. He points to the torn heel and laughs softly, then turns serious again. Things made. Slowly, he says, remember us more kindly. When the tea is finished, you bow and begin the return. The sun is higher now. Your sandals are worn slightly at the heel, the first mark of use. You walk slower, not out of fatigue, but respect. Each step is felt, measured, woven into the soil. Back at the temple, the afternoon deepens. You untie the sandals, brush them gently, and set them by the doorway. You write a note in your daily ledger, not in ink, but by memory, 2 pairs. Made, one returned to ash, one given in offering. Feet lightened. You sleep well that night. Your dreams are filled with twisting straw, distant bells, and forest paths that do not end. We often forget what carries us, but in the humblest crafts, in the smallest rituals, there is something more than survival. There is grace in quiet utility. There is love in every unspoken gesture of care. Let's now wander into a different time, a different place, and now let's drift into a new corner of forgotten history. Would you like me to begin story 3? Steam and stillness, bathing practices in the temple. Very well, let's let the air grow heavy with steam now. We'll leave behind the forest trails and step into the warmth of cedarwood baths, where silence mingles with vapor and the act of cleansing becomes sacred. Story 3. Steam and stillness, bathing practices in the temple, drawing the water, warming the soul. Good evening once again. Draw closer to stillness. The world grows quieter now. Let the day's tension fall from your shoulders. Imagine the warmth of rising steam, the creak of cedar planks beneath your feet. If this story brings you comfort, you are welcome to rest with us again tomorrow. It is the 6th day of the moon's 3rd phase. The temple has grown hushed as the chores of the morning pass behind you and the weight of dusk gathers in the sky. It is on this day of the week that you are assigned to the bathhouse, not for cleansing alone, but for its preparation. This is no ordinary bathing. You are a monk in the southern reaches of Nara province. The temple, nestled in a sheltered valley, is old. Its origins rooted in the 9th century, when pilgrims came bearing offerings of millet and dried chestnuts. The bathhouse, or yokoshitsu, stands apart from the main compound, surrounded by elder plum trees and a moss-carpeted stone wall. It is a simple structure: cedar walls, a low tiled roof, a central soaking tub carved from hinoki wood. The scent of the bathhouse is ancient and pure: wood, smoke, faint traces of pine, ash, and old steam. The air inside always feels softer, denser, as though time itself thickens here. Your work begins with fire, the large stone-lined furnace beneath. The tub must be lit hours in advance. You gather the wood from a nearby shed split, logs of pine cut last autumn, dried carefully to burn evenly. You stack them with care beneath the heating chamber and place a small bundle of kindling bark, straw, and a single strip of old cloth knotted thrice. When you strike the flint, the spark catches quickly. The flame is not loud. It grows steadily with gentle crackles, like an old monk whispering a story. You sit beside it for a moment, watching its rhythm. The fire needs no command. It knows its task. Then comes the water. You walk to the well behind the bathhouse. It is a deep one, its stones slick with age. A bamboo pulley lowers the bucket, and it returns full, cool, and shining. You fill the copper basins one by one, pouring each into the bath, listening to the echo of water against wood. As the tub slowly fills, the air inside the bathhouse changes. A damp heat begins to rise. Clinging to your robes, you remove the outer layer and roll up your sleeves. The fire beneath the tub now glows amber, licking the stones that line the chamber. The water warms slowly, reverently. This, too, is a form of prayer. Bathing in your tradition is more than hygiene. It is ritual purification mazagi. It prepares the body for meditation, for sutras, for rebirth each day. Dirt is not only soil, but a spiritual weight. The removal of dust is also the shedding of ego. Before others arrive, you scrub the interior. Walls with a cloth soaked in vinegar water. You clear the drainage canal. You polish the copper bowls. Nothing is rushed. These tasks have been handed down like Sutras. Cleaning is a script in motion. Soon, the abbot arrives. He is old, with a back curved by time. but his eyes remain sharp. He nods as he enters, placing his sandals neatly beside the threshold. You help him disrobe not out of subservience, but custom. His robe is folded, placed on a low bench. A towel is offered, steamed lightly above the furnace before handing. He seats himself beside the wooden tub and begins with the ladle. 3 scoops over the head, shoulders, chest, his breath slow and steady. You do not watch directly. That would be disrespectful. But you sense the atmosphere shift. The bath becomes sacred. The other monks arrive gradually, in 2s and 3s. Each removes their sandals quietly. Each waits for the one before them to finish. There is no chatter. Only the soft splash of water, the rustle of cloth, the breath of steam rising through cracks in the roof. You wait until last, when your turn comes. The fire has settled into warm coals. The water is perfect. You kneel by the basin and begin as taught. Wash the hands first, then the feet. Not because they are dirtiest, but because they are closest to the earth. You step into the bath slowly. The warmth envelopes you not sudden, but creeping like a late spring breeze. Your muscles soften. The air thickens. The silence deepens. For a few long minutes, there is no temple, no robe, no history, only you, water, and stillness. You close your eyes, and in the rise of breath and steam, you feel yourself dissolve into the warmth. Is it possible that all renewal begins not with thunder, but with steam? That the soul's gentlest healing comes when no one is speaking, and nothing must be done? And so, let us return to the bathhouse, where time evaporates with the steam, and the hush of evening seeps gently into the floorboards. The quiet within, the steam, the bath's warmth lingers long after you step out. You sit for a moment on the wooden bench outside the bathhouse, wrapped in a robe of soft linen, your hair damp, your skin tingling with returning breath. The sun has almost set now, and the valley glows with that rare light just before twilight. When every leaf seems edged in silver, the other monks emerge gradually. No one speaks. Their robes rustle softly in the dusk. A young novice sneezes, and an older monk offers him a towel without a word. This silence is not emptiness. It is full of gratitude, of simplicity, of shared awareness that something sacred has passed. You return to the inner courtyard barefoot, letting your soles touch the cool stone. This contact with the earth after a bath is thought to restore, balance to ground the spirit, as your teacher once said. You take slow steps, feeling the tiny grooves in the walkway, the texture of lichen between stones in the eastern corridor. A small alcove holds a polished brass mirror. Tradition says, to glance at oneself after purification, not for vanity, but reflection. To see not what others see, but what remains after the grime has gone. You pause there now, your face half shadowed in the fading light, and bow slightly to your own reflection. Back inside, the bathhouse must be cleaned, not scrubbed, but reset. The water must be ladled out slowly, poured into the nearby drainage. Stones that feed the plum trees. No water is wasted. You dip the ladle with both hands, letting it arc in silver ribbons toward the ground. Steam still clings to the wooden beams above, and your breath adds its own mist. As the tub empties, you take a dry cloth and begin to wipe the benches. Your movements are slow. This is not hurried labor. It is the temple's way of saying thank you to the materials that held you. The fire is nearly gone now. You scatter the coals into a clay basin, then carry them to the ash gardener, small circular plot behind the storehouse. Ash is a precious thing. It is used to fertilize medicinal. herbs, to line sacred pits, even to ward off insects. You pour it gently into a jar, humming as you do. Once the fire is gone, the room changes. It exhales, the warmth fades, the floor cools, the shadows grow. But even in this cooling, the memory of heat remains, as though your bones themselves hold the bath within them. In the kitchen hall, the monks gather with tea. After a bath, it is customary to drink yuzua, light citrus infusion made from the peel of dried yuzu fruit. The scent is bright, faintly sweet. It clears the senses. You are offered a small wooden cup, its rim warm from the brewing fire. The tea is not hot just enough to comfort. It feels like a second cleansing from within. You sit beside a wall, sipping slowly. A thin stream of steam curls from the cup, and you watch it rise and vanish. Outside the window, rain begins very light, just a passing drizzle. The roof sings. With its tapping, someone stokes a lamp. Someone coughs gently, but no one breaks the peace. The abbot speaks at last, in a tone softer than most men use, even in dreams. The water forgets nothing, and it forgives more than we deserve. No one replies, but you feel the words settle somewhere behind your ribs. Later, as you make your way to the sleeping hall, your body feels lighter not in strength, but in burden. There is nothing left to clean today, nothing left to prepare. You have scrubbed the day from your skin, and the temple now cradles you like a warmed robe. The bathhouse lies in darkness behind you, its walls still faintly warm. Tomorrow it will cool. The next day it will be kindled again. But for tonight it rests. And so do you. Can a place remember the people who washed there? Can the heat remember the breadth of those who once sighed inside it? Perhaps the bathhouse, like the heart, holds steam long after the fire has dimmed. The last lantern and the breath of the floorboards night has wrapped itself around the temple. Soft and total, the bathhouse stands quiet now, tucked beneath the shadow of the plum trees. Its roof glistens slightly from the evening drizzle, and the light of the half-moon reflects faintly in shallow puddles beside the stone path. You return not to bathe again, but to tend to its closing dot. Every building in the monastery has its rhythm, its duties, its signs of sleep. The bathhouse is no exception. You walk slowly through the garden path, carrying a single paper lantern, its flame flickering in your cupped hand. The sound of your steps, soft against damp stone, is the only sound in this corner of the temple now. Inside the bathhouse, the air is cool but fragrant. The scent of warm cedar still lingers, mixed with hints of citrus peel, wet ash, and old steam now embedded in the walls. The floorboards sigh slightly beneath your feet though the building itself recognizes your presence and welcomes one last visitor before rest. You kneel and check the hearth beneath the bath. The stones have gone dark, but a trace of warmth still emanates from their core. You place your hand against them, feeling the echo of fire long faded. It reminds you of the embers in a teacher's voice, never loud, but always glowing just below the surface. You open the side panels to let out the remaining heat. The steam, almost invisible now, drifts out into the cool air, taking with it the memory of the day's prayers, thoughts, and labors. The bath is a vessel not only for bodies, but for the weight each monk carries. The used towels have already been rinsed and hung to dry in the back corridor. You collect the water ladle and small copper cups, drying them one by one with a linen cloth that smells faintly of tea leaves. Each item has its place, and you return them accordingly, hands moving without need of thought. On the wall is a small board marked unpainted, where each monk scratches a line with charcoal after using the bath, not for record keeping, but gratitude. You find a space and draw your line slowly, letting the stick drag just enough to leave a soft whisper of black across the grain. It feels like breathing. The final task is the lantern. Each night, one is left burning in the corner of the bathhouse, for light, but for memory. You choose the smallest lamp, the one with a red silk cord tied around its handle, and place it on the windowsill beside the soaking tub. You light it with care. The flame flickers into life, illuminating the edge of the wooden tub, the curved beams above, and your own reflection in the bathwater's surface. It is quiet now completely. Even the insects have stilled. You bow once to the room, hands pressed together, and step out, sliding the door shut behind you with the gentlest thud. Outside, the night is cooler. The rain has stopped. Mist returns in thin tendrils around the plum trees. You stand for a moment, watching the light of the lantern glow faintly through the wooden slats. It will burn until morning. It will whisper warmth into the air and keep the house company as it sleeps. You return to the main hall, your body clean, your senses sharpened yet at peace. As you lie down on your futon, you feel the bath not just on your skin, but in your breath, in your bones, in the way you let your muscles release into the mat beneath you. The silence is total, but in that silence, the bathhouse still breathes. So do you. What do we carry away with us after warmth fades? Perhaps not the heat itself, but the stillness it made possible. The kind that softens the body, clears the mind, and makes room for peace to enter. Then come closer now, dear listener. The light grows dim, but a single candle still flickers. The parchment is laid before you, the brush poised in your fingers. Tonight, we return to the hush of ink on paper. Story 4. Ink and illumination, copying sutras by candlelight, once more to a slower world. Let your breath ease. Let your eyes grow heavy. The past stretches out before us like a scroll, unrolled slowly across the quiet desk of history. And if this soft journey brings you rest, feel free to stay a while longer, just as you are. The sun has long since vanished beyond the ridge of the temple roofs. You are alone in the Scriptorium. This is not the main hall, nor the meditation chamber, nor the bathhouse warmed by fire. This is a smaller, quieter room, part library, part workshop, part shrine to the written word. Here, history is not recited, it is rewritten. One stroke at a time. The year is 1328. You are a monk of the Shingon tradition, residing in a secluded mountaintop temple in the Kii Peninsula. The winds here are cold, even in summer. But tonight, the walls are still, and only the soft hiss of candlelight keeps you company. You sit cross-legged at a low desk, polished from years of quiet labor. Your inkstone is set before you, black and glistening. You've ground the stick, already a slender column of pine, soot, and deer, glue using slow, steady circles, mixing it with spring water from the temple well. The ink is dark, not just black, but dense. It absorbs light, holds it. You dip the brush. Its bristles are made of goat hair, or sometimes badger depending on the season. The shaft is bamboo, light, warm from your hand. The first stroke must be sure. There is no room for hesitation. The paper, once touched, cannot be undone. Your hand hovers, and then moves. The brush kisses the parchment, and the sutra begins too. Emerge. You are copying the prosperity, the perfection of wisdom. Not for fame, nor for readers, not even for study. The copy you create will be sealed in a wooden box, carried in procession, and buried beneath a temple or mountain shrine. Its purpose is devotion. Its reader, the cosmos. The words are ancient Chinese, read in Japanese rhythm. You do not need to understand every syllable. You are not reading. You are transcribing divinity. Each character is a breath. Each stroke, a step in an unseen pilgrimage. The candle beside you flutters slightly. It's made from wax of the haze tree, wrapped around a rushwick. It does not burn brightly, but with a soft golden hue. Just enough light to see, not enough to distract. The shadows it casts on the page move gently, like reeds in water. The room smells of ink, parchment, and cooled ashdot. There are 30 more sheets to go. Each one must be perfect in spacing. Not too close, lest the characters crowd. Not too far, lest the prayer lose rhythm. You use a thin thread, pinned at both ends of the paper, to guide your lines. The thread is invisible once lifted, but its impression remains. Your body stills. Even your breath is trained now. Inhale before the downstroke. Exhale as you lift the brush. This is not just writing, it is a dance. The movement's precise, the pauses deliberate. You find yourself entering a rhythm beyond thought, beyond words. Time thins occasionally. Your hand trembles, not from fear, but from effort. You place the brush down gently, stretch your fingers, and sip warm barley tea from a nearby cup. It has cooled, but still comforts. You listen to the quiet around you so deep that you can hear the wax drip onto the iron saucer beneath the candle. Somewhere in the distance, a wooden bell is struck. Once, then again, midnight approaches. Still, you copy. Still, the characters form like beads on a string. Gate, gate, pray Sam gate, Bodhi, Svbh, gone, gone, gone beyond. Enlightenment, hail. You whisper the final mantra aloud, as tradition commands, letting the sound linger in your throat before releasing it into the wood-scented dark. When the final character is complete, you place the brush beside the ink. You bow to the page, not as its writer, but as its servant. The words came through you, not from you. You cover the sheet with a fine cloth, fold your hands, and sit in stillness. The candle sputters. The wind hums in the walls, and the ink begins to dry slowly, like breath cooling into sleep. What prayers do our hands carry when no one sees? When the world is silent, and only the brush bears witness, what is written into the soul of the page? Then let us remain by candlelight. The ink has dried, but the night is not yet over. There is still more to write, more silence to gather and gently place between strokes. The temple scroll room and the dust of 100 years, the scriptorium, is now bathed in the quiet of completed effort. Your brush rests, your parchment breathes, and still your heart remains tuned to the rhythm of scripture. You rise slowly from your desk, joints creaking softly from stillness, and take a moment to bow toward the east-facing window, where the stars hang faintly beyond a screen of cloud. You carry the completed sheet, both hands flat, to the adjoining room, the scroll archive. It is not large, but every corner of it is alive with time. The air is denser here. It smells of wood, oil, old paper, dust warmed by breath, and the faintest trace of camphor from long-dead insects. The shelves are narrow but tall, carved from chestnut wood and smoothed by the hands of many monks. Some scrolls rest in lacquered, Boxes, some in cloth wraps, others directly on the shelf, their edges tied with braided cords. You place your newly finished sheet into a shallow wooden frame to flatten and rest. Beside it lies a stack of others from the past week, each one similar, yet unmistakably touched by a different hand. Some characters bold, others lean, some precise, others relaxed, like the brush was sighing. These differences are not corrected. They are honored. You pause and run your finger lightly along the edge of a scroll dated 60 years ago. The ink has faded, but not lost its presence. You imagine the monk who wrote it, his fingers, his posture, the way he whispered the same. Verses under his breath. Every scroll in this room carries not just words, but breath. Every syllable an exhale. Every pause a held moment. The room hums with centuries of slow devotion. You take a small cloth, dampened with vinegar water, and dust the lower shelves. The upper shelves must wait until morning. The light is too dim. Now, and you will not risk knocking loose even a single strand of thread from the scrolls. Tied cords. In the corner is a box marked with red ink. Damaged manuscripts. These are not discarded. They are kept until the next extra-burial ritual, where imperfect or weather-worn pages are respectfully sealed in a clay jar and buried beneath the earth, often under the roots of a camphor tree. It is said the words will continue to chant silently in the dark, long after human voices have faded. You glance at the candle. Its wick is low now. The wax pools around the base. One more hour, perhaps two. You return to the writing desk. The next sheet awaits. Fresh. Parchment, the slight grit of the fibers visible under slanted light. You prepare the ink again, grinding in small, slow circles. Your breath matches the rhythm. You pause, not because of fatigue, but to observe the light. It slants now at a sharper angle, more gold than amber. The paper glows faintly. Shadows curve and stretch. The scriptorium becomes not just a room, but a cocoon. Time slows further still. You begin again. The first character is Shin, Sin heart. The second is Mu, Wu, emptiness. You copy with reverence. These are not merely symbols, but vessels. As you write, you feel yourself dissolve into the page. The act becomes less about hands and ink, and more about presence, about emptiness itself holding the form. Your breath deepens. The world narrows to the space between brush and parchment. When the sheet is halfway complete, you rest your wrist and sip tea once more. The cup is warmer than before. Someone has refilled the pot, perhaps a novice, quietly tending to the room's needs without disturbing its silence. A small gesture, unseen. You nod to the empty doorway in quiet thanks. Outside, a soft rain has returned. You hear it tapping gently on the tiled roof. No thunder, just the kind of rain that accompanies thought. You smile faintly and return to your work, stroke by stroke, word by word, until once more the page is complete. What is devotion, if not the repetition of care in darkness? Perhaps the world is written this way, to one quiet act at a time, unrecognized, but deeply remembered. Then gently now, we return once more to the quiet scroll room. Let us follow the candle to its end and see what becomes of ink, memory, and devotion when the night has fully arrived. The last line, the box, and the earth beneath the candle is nearly gone. Its light flutters now with the draught of an evening breeze creeping beneath the temple's wooden slats. The flame leans, steady, leans again. It is not hurried, not fearful. just ready. As you are, you finish the final page. The last character lands with a delicate exhale drawn carefully, pressed just so, and then lifted from the paper like the end of a breath. You set down your brush. The ink left in the well will dry by morning. The parchment, newly completed, will rest until it, too, joins the procession. You rise and stretch quietly, joints aching with the stillness of hours. Your knees press into the floorboards as you bow to the parchment 3 times. Once for the words, once for the act, once for the emptiness that made space for both. Then you begin the closing ritual. From a lacquered chest you retrieve a wooden box, simple, rectangular, carved from paulownia wood and sanded to a soft, pale smoothness. Its lid fits perfectly. Inside, padded with linen, lie several completed sutras stacked neatly, tied in silk cords of deep indigo and persimmon. You add your work to the stack. One more thread in a tapestry centuries wide. One more line stitched into the long body of wisdom kept in silence. You take a narrow strip of paper and inscribe your name, not with pride, but responsibility, not for recognition, only that the name may someday be remembered as a servant of the text. You place the slip gently atop the final scroll and lower the lid until it clicks shut with a soft wooden kiss. The box is complete. Tomorrow, it will be carried in a silent procession across the mountain pass, not by wagon, not with drums or banners, but in the arms of 4 monks, barefoot, heads bowed. It will be placed beneath a camphor tree on the edge of the Valia, tree already sheltering 6 such boxes in its roots. Each time you walk past that tree, you think of the words it guards. You extinguish the candle. The wick folds into itself with a final hiss, and the room is swallowed by gentle dark. The ink is dry. The scrolls sleep. You gather your tools, wash the brush, wrap the ink stick, and sweep the writing desk with your sleeve before leaving the scriptorium. You pause once more at the door. The floorboards creaked beneath you. The air tastes of smoke and old paper. You bow against to the empty room, to the candle tray, to the long quiet that lives here long after voices fade. Outside, the temple is silent. Stars prick the black sky above the tiled roofs. The night insect sings softly, steadily, in chorus with the breeze. You walk barefoot across the corridor, the cool planks familiar beneath your feet. At your sleeping mat, you sit for a moment, not yet lying down. You close your eyes, and somewhere, behind them, parchment still glows. You do not dream of glory, or battles, or sermons. You dream of ink, thick and slow. You dream of characters forming in darkness, one by one. You dream of a universe quietly copied, page by page, by hands no one will ever name. And what is remembered? The name or the work, the voice or the silence between syllables. Perhaps it is enough that the page was written and the box lowered into the earth, still warm with prayer. Let's now wander into a different time, a different place, and now let's drift into a new corner of forgotten history. Then let us step into the kitchen halls of the temple where pots simmer gently, and knives whisper across root vegetables. It is midday now, and the sacred hunger of the body is met with quiet care. Story 5. Rice, roots, and ritual. The midday meal of the devout, the garden path, and the abbot's pot. Good evening once more. Uncurl yourself. Sink deeper into your pillow, your blanket, your breath. You need do nothing but listen now. Let the slow scent of steamed rice and the hush of boiling water guide you into this next quiet chapter of forgotten time. It is just past the hour of the snake-late morning, when the shadows in the courtyard have shortened but the light remains gentle, unhurried. The bell has rung, soft and low, signaling the hour before the midday meal. You rise from your sweeping, your sutra copying, or perhaps your meditation, and begin your way toward the curry, the temple kitchen. You are one of many monks in this hillside retreat in AWA province. The monastery is humble, not remote, but surrounded by forested paths and quiet fields of barley and millet. Its kitchen does not boast the rich ingredients of imperial temples, and yet the food prepared here carries no less reverence. The curry is a long wooden building with wide doors, thrown open to the garden. The air inside is warm, dense with the scent of rice water and cut radish. A pot simmers quietly near the central hearth, steam rising in slow ribbons toward the open rafters above. Lanterns sway faintly from the beams, though they are unlit. The sun, filtered through bamboo screens, provides all the light that's needed. You wash your hands in the basin outside. The water is cold, crisp, drawn from the temple's cistern that catches morning rain. A few mint leaves float in the wooden bowl, placed there not for flavor, but for freshness, reminders that even cleansing can be softened. Inside, your first task is to tend to the miso. It is not store-bought, not from the market, not even recently prepared. This miso was begun to winters ago, fermented in wide clay jars, buried to their shoulders behind the compost pile. It is darker than most, almost black, and carries the deep aroma of earth and time. You lift a wooden lid, releasing a scent that is as ancient as it is familiar. A ladle, a quiet transfer, a whisper of miso into the steaming pot. Then you move to the pickled vegetables. They were prepared during the last moon cycle, preserved in salt and rice bran, held beneath stones in heavy crocks. Daikon, radish, crisp and white, slices like parchment beneath your knife. A novice watches you carefully. You pause, adjust, his grip on the blade, and nod for him to try. The sound of the knife is delicate, like wind rustling dry leaves. To cook in a monastery is not merely labor, it is mindfulness, precision, compassion in motion. You turn to the rice, now glutinous, washed 3 times in silence before steaming. It cooks not in haste, but in layers of breath. No stirring, no rushing. You place a wet cloth over the wooden pot's lid, pressing it gently, allowing the aroma to rise through the room in slow pulses. Today's meal will be simple, as it always is. A bowl of rice, a cup of miso soup, pickled radish, a few slices of yam grilled near the hearth, and a sprinkling of toasted sesame seeds, ground by hand in a mortar passed down through the hands of 5 abbots. You hear the footsteps of the elder, monks arriving from the garden path. Their sandals shuffle lightly against the stone, their robes brushing softly at their ankles. They do not speak, but the room acknowledges them, bowing heads, moved hands, space made at the table. You ladle the soup first, into ceramic bowls, handmade, glazed in pale, celadon, and fired in the kilns that lie just beyond the temple grounds. Each bowl holds just enough for nourishment, not indulgence. The steam curls upward like incense, and you steady each dish in your hands as if offering it to a shrine. When the rice is finished, you fluff it with a wide paddle, each motion parting grains gently. No pressing, no mashing. The air is thick, with the scent of cooked starch, comforting and clean. A novice carries the tray with pickles. You follow with the rice. At the table, the monks sit already in gasho palms together, backs straight. The meal verse begins, chanted in unison. 10,000 grains, 10,000 hands. We eat so others may be nourished too. No other words follow, only the sounds of chopsticks clicking softly against ceramic, the lift of teacups, the quiet rhythms of chewing, of sipping, of gratitude made tangible through food. What is the taste of simplicity? Is it the softness of rice, the sharp tang of pickled root? Or perhaps it is the sound of nothing at all when the only flavor is that of breath meeting silence. Then come, the meal is not finished yet. Let us return to the curry, where the fire still crackles gently and the bowls are nearly empty, but the ritual continues in even quieter ways. The empty bowl, the ritual of thanks. The last bite is taken, but the meal, as you've come to know, does not end when the rice is gone. It continues subtly, slowly in the space that follows. You set your chopsticks gently across your bowl. Parallel, never crossed. Crossed chopsticks are for offerings to the dead. Here, among the living, the meal must be closed with care, all. Around the long wooden table, the other monks finish at their own pace. No one hurries, no one lingers unnecessarily. Each gesture is deliberate. You sip the final bit of miso broth from your cup, its flavor deep and grounding, the echo of fermentation, of mushrooms and quiet salt. Then the second verse is chanted. We reflect on the food, the hands that prepared it, and the life shared through it. May we receive without greed, and return without waste. No dishes are yet cleared. Before anything is removed, the Okazuk ritual must be completed. You reach for the kettle's iron form, warm to the touch, resting on a bed of coals. Inside is not tea, but hot water. You pour a small amount into your rice bowl. With your chopsticks, you swish the water gently around the inside of the bowl, loosening any remaining grains. The action is quiet, humble. The water becomes cloudy, fragrant with starch and sesame. You lift the bowl to your lips and drink it slowly. This is not about flavor. This is about nothing being wasted. It is about respecting the bowl, both the object and what it carried. A monk once told you, if you cannot clean a bowl with water and humility, you cannot clean the heart. After the rinse, you wipe the bowl's edge with a square of cloths, soft, white, washed many times. You fold the cloth 3 times and place it on the tray. This ritual is repeated across the room. Steam rising, bowls lifted, then silence. When the meal is fully complete, the monks bow once deeply. Hands return to gasho. The final phrase is spoken in a whisper, barely audible. All nourishment ends in stillness. You stand and begin the dish-clearing rotation. It is not assigned, it flows organically. Whoever finishes early clears the bowls. Whoever remains dries. The curry returns to motion, but not noise. There is no clatter, no command. Only the soft touch of ceramic against water, the gentle pour of rinse bowls, and the muted brush of towels drying lacquer. You carry the empty rice pot to the rear platform, where it will be scrubbed with coarse cloth and rinsed in ash water on old method passed down by mountain monasteries, which leaves the wood cleansed but not stripped. Behind the kitchen, the compost pail is opened. All peelings, stalks, tea leaves, and fragments of radish from this morning's preparations are carried out. The pile is layered carefully, sprinkled with straw and wood ash. A novice stirs it slowly with a bamboo pole, and steam rises from within. Even the scraps continue their service. A line of bowls now rests on the drying rack. Each one is turned upside down. None are labeled. Each will find its user again tomorrow, by ownership, but by familiarity. Your hands remember your bowl, and it remembers them. The abbot walks through the curry quietly. He does not speak, but pauses to observe. His robe brushes the floor. He nods once to the soup pot, once to the compost pail, once to the rice bucket. Not approval, not correction, just witness. A silent affirmation that the day continues as it should. You set the lid back on the miso, jar and press it closed with a stone weight. The kitchen, now tidy and cool, hums faintly with the echo of midday. The fire has died down. The scent of roasted yams still lingers in the beams. Outside, sparrows flit between roof tiles, pecking. For crumbs no one dropped. Nothing is wasted. Not the food, not the fire, not the silence. Is a meal still a meal if no flavor lingers on the tongue? Or does its real nourishment come afterward in the quiet washing of bowls, the turning of compost, the breath that comes between tasks? Then let us return once more to the heart of the monastery. The fire has cooled, the bowls are clean, but the spirit of the meal lingers. Now we follow the quiet thread of digestion, reflection, and the slow folding of time after food, folding the apron and walking the garden path. The kitchen is empty now, but not abandoned. Emptiness in the temple is never a void, only a pause. You hang your apron on the wooden peg near the doorway. The fabric is stiff with use, faded by steam, stained faintly from yam skins and soy residue. It smells of rice, wood smoke, and hours well spent. The curry returns to stillness. You take a last look around, bamboo blinds drawn halfway, mortar rinsed and inverted to dry, ash swept neatly into the corner urn. The long ladle rests across the miso pot like a bow atop an instrument, waiting for tomorrow's music. You bow once to the room, not for show, but for closure. Then you step outside into the narrow kitchen garden. The path is paved with stones, some flat, others rounded, set unevenly to keep steps slow and mindful. The summer's warmth still radiates from them. The garden is small-tucked between the curry and the outer wall of the storehouse, but every corner bursts with gentle intention. Shiso leaves shimmer in the breeze. Burdock stretches its green arms toward the sun. There is a row of scallions, half-harvested, and beside them, a pot of perilla seeds drying in the open air. You pause by the basil patch. Its scent is strong today, sharper after the rain 2 nights ago. You pinch a sprig, rub it between your fingers, and breathe, not indulgently, just enough to mark the moment. A novice kneels nearby, brushing away weeds with a wooden rake. His fingers are stained with soil, but his posture is careful. You offer him the basil sprig without a word. He accepts it with both hands, as though it were a jewel. You walk slowly to the corner where the compost rests. It is warm heather, soft scent of rot and growth in equal measure. The layers are orderly, peels, stems, leaves, a sprinkling of charcoal dust. You stir gently with a forked stick, listening to the sound of shifting matter. You know this compost will nourish next season's roots. You also know it will contain tomorrow's breath. Above you, cicadas begin their song steady, rhythmic, almost meditative. They mark the time not by hour, but by heat, in the shade of the elder plum tree. You sit on a smooth rock and close your eyes. The rice in your stomach settles. The miso warms you from within. The flavors are long gone from your tongue, but not from your memory. You feel, instead, The echo of nourishment, the way the body receives quiet service and folds it into energy, into motion, into stillness. This sitting is not idleness. It is part of the meal. It is shokugozes in meditation after food. A chance to let digestion become prayer, to allow the mind to soften as the belly warms. You sit upright, hands folded gently, breath steady, inhale, exhale. Thoughts rise like steam, then dissolve. You think of the yam you sliced this morning, of the grain of rice that stuck to your finger before you placed it back in the bowl, of the tiny sesame seed that rolled off the spoon and was caught before it fell, of the warm rinse water swirling in the empty dish. These are not distractions. They are scripture. You remain this way for some time until the shadow of the plum tree moves past your shoulder, until the flies grow bored and wander, until the cicadas pause. Then you rise. You walk the long corridor back toward the main hall. Along the way, you pass the laundry basin, the prayer bell, and the sandals drying beneath the eaves. You see a monk brushing dust from a scroll, and another tending to a broken roof tile. Everyone is at work again, but the meal is not forgotten. It is folded into the day now, into each action, into each step. You bow once at the threshold, the kitchen. Behind you, the world ahead, and the warmth of rice and roots carried still, quietly, within. Where does the meal truly end? With the final swallow, or in the breath after that, when the hands return to labor and the mind to stillness and even, the smallest act becomes a form of thanks. Story 6. Rain on bamboo. Meditation during the monsoon entering the Zazen Hall as the clouds break. Welcome back, dear listener. Let your body be still. Let your thoughts loosen, like droplets rolling down leaves. Tonight, we follow the rhythm of rain through a monk's quiet world, and if these sounds settle you, you are welcome to return again and again. The clouds had gathered since morning. Now they have broken open. Rain falls in long, steady strokes across the bamboo forest that encircles the temple. Each drop lands, with soft percussion on leaves, on roof tiles, on the empty sandals beside the meditation hall's door. The air smells of wet bark, earth, and the faint sharpness of ozone. You feel it in your robe's dampness, clinging to the cloth. Weighty but not cold. You are a monk of the Saint Sen school. It is the 9th day of the 6th month, monsoon season. You walk slowly through the covered corridor, the wood cool beneath. Your bare feet, rainwater trickles from the eaves, forming silver threads that ripple into the gravel paths below. No one hurries in weather like this. The rain is not an interruption. It is a presence. Ahead lies the zendo, the meditation hall. Its wide sliding doors are half open to the elements, allowing the rain to become part of the room's breath. You bow deeply before entering gasho, then a full bend at the waist, not out of superstition, but to acknowledge the space. It is sacred not because it is ornate, but because it holds stillness. Inside, it is dim, a row of sitting cushions saphir-line the far wall. Each rests on a folded mat, precisely aligned, their black fabric slightly mottled with age. The air is hushed, but not silent. You hear breath. You hear the slow creak of another monk settling into place. You hear the wind thread through a gap. In the shoji screen, you approach your cushion and sit legs folded, spine tall, hands forming the cosmic mudra left hand resting in right, thumbs lightly touching. Your knees ground you, your breath tethers you. Your eyes half close, focused on the floor 2 feet ahead. Unfocused yet aware, you begin zazen-seated meditation. It is not for trance, nor visions, nor escape. It is to be as you are, where you. Our thought may come, let it pass. Rain may fall, let it continue. Your only task is to sit, to breathe, to remain. Time stretches at first. Your thoughts tug gently what needs tending in the garden, whether the rice jar is low, whether the roof in the northwest hall leaks again. But these pass, one by one, like clouds through mist. The sound of the rain deepens. It no longer seems outside. It is in your skin, your pulse, your lungs, a rhythm that matches your breathing. Each inhale feels like the lifting of a branch heavy with water. Each exhale, a leaf letting go. You sense other bodies around you, though you do not look. A dozen monks, all still, all breathing, all dripping slightly from their walk here. The fabric of their robes darkened at the hems. The smell of wet cotton and old straw. You know them without seeing them. Familiar shapes of stillness, then dash crack. A branch breaks in the forest beyond the wall. It snaps sharply, then thuds to the ground. No one moves. No one even blinks. Sound is part of the moment, not separate, not enemy. The rain continues without pause. Somewhere near the altar, a thin stick of incense burns. Its smoke rises faintly, barely visible in the dimness. The scent is Kyara deep argarwood, used only during long rains. It is said to calm the spirit and anchor the senses. You feel it settle behind your eyes. A novice coughs, once soft, controlled. A bell chimes faintly, not to end the sitting, but to mark its middle. You breathe again. You have not stopped breathing, but now you notice it once. More, the rise of the belly, the stillness of the shoulders. You feel the breath as it enters your nose, curls down the throat, warms your chest. The bamboo creaks in the wind. You let that sound become part of you. You are not thinking, not watching, not trying. You are simply sitting in the rain, then come further into the quiet. The rain does not stop, but deepens. So too does the meditation layered with the sound of the wind and the calm beneath the skin. The raindrop and the wooden slap the bell has not rung again. But you know that time has passed, not by minutes, not by marks, but by the deepening rhythm. In your bones, your legs are heavy now, your ankles ache, but you do not move, not yet. You shift only your breath, deeper, softer, more quiet than before. The zendo holds you like a hand. The room is cool, the walls pulse faintly with wind. Through the thin paper of the shoshi screen, you see the outline of bamboo swaying. Their motion is graceful, not theatrical, but practiced, like monks who have spent their whole lives bending and never breaking. Your eyes drop lower to the wooden slats beneath you, polished by decades of bare feet, wiped by the hems of robes, smoothed by time. Between two of them, a single raindrop forms, dripping from the edge of the open eave. You watch it. It thickens. Quivers and falls. You do not see where it lands, only that it fell. This too is part of your meditation. The breath is constant. The breath is always. But the breath is not alone. It is joined by every sound, every drift of incense, every twitch of a sparrow on the roof. The zendo is not silent. It is precisely this loud. Another monk shifts slightly. His knee, perhaps, or a hand adjusting in his lap. You do not turn to look. The sound is acknowledged and then gone. All things pass here. All things return. You hear a soft sound like fingers brushing cloth, and then a deeper noise. The long, low thrum of thunder from far across the hills. It does not startle, it simply arrives. You feel it in your chest more than in your ears. You wonder if the thunder, too, is meditating. You close your eyes fully for a moment, not in sleep, not in turning away, but to listen more deeply. The rain on the roof, the rain on the leaves, the breath of the monk beside you, the small snap of incense as the stick burns shorter, the groan of bamboo in wind, the beat of your own heart. The room does not disappear. It expands. Time unrolls like a scroll. You remember something an elder once told you. Zazen is not about escaping. It is about dissolving. Not to forget the world, but to stop being separate from it. You sit with that thought. You let it sink, then let it go. The pain in your knee is louder now. You do not resist it. You greet it. It has been here before. It is part of your sitting, just like the rain, just like the wind. The bell chimes again, a small brass tone struck lightly by a wooden mallet. It does not announce, it notes. The sitting has ended, but you do not rise immediately, nor does anyone else. The shift from zazen to motion is a slow unfolding. The stillness must be released, gently like steam from a lidded bowl. You bow in place. Your hands form gasho. Your breath lifts. Your body leans forward, then returns. Your mind follows, not as a thought, but as presence. You rise. Your feet touch the floor. You take one step, then another. The weight of the sitting is still in your bones, but you carry it with quiet pride. Outside the hall, the rain continues, but it feels different now. Not falling on you, but through you. What changes when we sit still long enough to notice the rain not just as sound, but as companion? Do we remain separate, or do we become another kind of falling, slow and soft, returning always to the earth? Gently now, let us complete this rainy meditation. The storm does not end, but it softens. And in the hush after stillness, we discover how to walk once more without disturbing the rhythm of the falling sky. The quiet after sitting. The rain within you step out of the zendo and onto the veranda. The wooden boards are damp, but not soaked. They hold the memory of rainfall, but not its weight. You walk with care, placing your feet slowly, deliberately. Each step a continuation of the sitting. Zazen does not end when you rise. It lingers in posture, in breath, in the way your hands rest at your side. The air is rich now, saturated. You can almost taste the bamboo. The garden is empty, save for the small tanuki statue near the moss basin, its belly glistening with rain, its ceramic eyes wide and mischievous. You bow slightly as you pass, not out of belief, just ... respect. Everything here deserves a bow. If you look closely enough, in the center of the courtyard, water collects in shallow pools between the stones. The rain has eased into a mist, barely visible, but present in your hair, your robe, your skin. A breeze brushes your neck, and the smell of damp earth rises gently like steam from a covered bowl, lifted only slightly to release the scent. You walk to the Chozabachi, the purification basin. It overflows with rain now, its bamboo spout, rendered quiet, outpaced by nature. Still, you lift the dipper and pour a scoop of water over your left hand, then your right. Then you cup the water and bring it to your lips, not to drink, but to touch and release. It is cool, pure, familiar. You pause here, watching the surface of the water tremble with each new drop. No single ripple claims attention. They exist. Only briefly, then they pass. Inside the hall, the incense has finished burning. The scent, however, remains clinging to the wood, to the cloth of your sleeve. The rain itself now seems scented, as though the walls have taught it something. You walk slowly along the outer path that circles the temple. The moss underfoot is vibrant, almost impossibly green in this weather. A few stones have shifted slightly from the runoff. You note their position. Later, you will return to reset them, not for symmetry, but for care. A swallow darts overhead, its wings brushing the edge of the eaves. You pause beneath the awning and breathe. Here, in the soundless hush between rainfall and breath, you feel the fullness of stillness. Not silence, but presence. Not absence, but deep attention. You recall a teaching. When the raindrop falls, it becomes the roof tile. When it strikes the stone, it becomes the moss. Do not chase its shape, only receive it. You return to the main hall. A bowl of warm barley tea awaits you there, left by the hand of a novice who is already gone. The cup is small, unadorned, its glaze soft with years. You wrap your fingers around it and sit by the open window. You sip, slowly. The warmth moves through you. Outside, the rain begins again, but you no longer hear it as interruption. It is continuation. It is rhythm. It is breath. Perhaps the world does not ask for answers, only attention. Perhaps the rain is not a question to solve, but a lesson to sit with, falling gently, again and again, into the open palms of listening hearts. Then gather your robes, dear traveler. The path is long, and the moon is rising. Tonight, we step away from the monastery walls and into the forested hills, following a monk whose quiet footsteps are guided by moss, memory, and devotion. Story 7. Moonlight and Moss. A monk's journey to tend a distant shrine, the pilgrims. Preparation and the temple gate. Welcome again, gentle listener. The night stretches out before us like a soft path beneath bare feet. As the moonlight filters through the trees, may your breath slow, your shoulders drop, and your mind settle like mist along a quiet hillside. It begins, as all temple journeys do, in silence. You are a monk of the Hosu school, tending to a temple nestled in the hills, just east of Nara. It is the end of the lunar month, near the turn of seasons. The air is dry, cool, and scented faintly with pine smoke. Above, the stars are veiled behind a thin scrim of early autumn cloud. The task is humble. You are to walk to a small satellite shrine, one hidden 2 valleys away, surrounded by cedar and moss, visited rarely by villagers, and even less so by officials. Your job is simple. Sweep the altar, refill the incense basin, place a fresh offering of millet and pickled burdock, and light a lantern. You have done this walk many times, but never quickly. Pilgrimage then to a forgotten shriner's. Not a task to be rushed. It is a walking prayer. Each footstep becomes its own verse, each breath a recitation. The road is not the means, is the devotion. You rise before the stars have faded. The temple is quiet, even the cicadas silenced by the cool. You bathe with a ladle of cold water at the garden basin. The splash against your neck jolts the last dreams from your spine. You dress in a plain traveling robe dyed with ash and persimmon, its fibers coarse, but warming with movement. Your satchel contains little: a rice ball wrapped in bamboo leaf, a small jar of pickled plum, a cloth bundle of candles, a spare length of rope, a wooden amulet for protection, carved by the abbot himself years ago. Nothing more is needed. The shrine you go to is called Sukukasan. the Hermitage of Moongrass. Its name appears only once in the temple records, written in a hand so old the ink has faded to a brown whisper. But the shrine has always been tended, quietly, faithfully. You do not know who first built it. You only know that it waits. You kneel before the main altar, pressing your hands in gasho. You whisper no words, only breath. Then you pass through the outer gate. The threshold is low. The gate itself, a simple wooden frame, adorned with rope and faded prayer tags that dance faintly. In the breeze, you step beyond it, and in that step, you leave behind not the temple, but the self you were while inside it. Outside, the morning is beginning. A thin grey glow spreads along the eastern horizon. The forested path ahead is damp with dew. You place your feet carefully, choosing stones rather than soil. The Waraji sandals grip just enough to keep your steps quiet. A staff in your right hand helps you feel the way. You listen, not for danger, but for the shape of the land. A rustle in the bamboo, the flutter of a sparrow, a squirrel chattering briefly before disappearing into brush. The world is alive, but not urgent. You are not a visitor. You are a passing cloud. The first leg of the journey takes you through a narrow glen where cedars rise like temple columns. Moss carpets the ground in undulating green. No footprints mark the trail. No cart tracks. This is a monk's road used only by feet that tread lightly at a bend in the path. You pause before a small stone marker worn, nearly consumed by lichen. Its shape is barely visible, but you know it by heart. Here, long ago, a traveling monk was said to have meditated for 3 days and 3 nights, unmoving. You bow not out of belief in the tale, but out of gratitude for its persistence. You continue walking. The clouds begin to thin. Patches of blue peek through, and a shaft of morning light breaks across the trail. You remove your straw hat, holding it at your side for a moment, letting your face warm. Then you press onward. In the distance you hear the faint trickle of a stream. You follow Aichia path, guided not by signs, but by memory, moss, and sound. When we walk not to arrive, but to serve, what paths do we find? Do they lead us outward or inward, toward the place where footsteps become prayers? Let us continue, then. The forest deepens, and the light grows. Softer, with every step, the path becomes quieter, more ancient, and somewhere ahead, a forgotten shrine waits beneath moonlight and moss. The forgotten shrine, beneath the camphor tree. The sun has risen behind you now, but the path ahead remains, shaded, wrapped in the arms of the forest. You've walked nearly 3, about 8 miles. Your legs ache faintly, but the pain is not burdensome. It hums quietly beneath each step, like a mantra you recite not with lips, but with muscles. You pass a grove of camellia trees. There, leaves are glossy even in shadow, and fallen petals line the path like scattered silk. A fox crosses in the distance orange-red, quick and calm. It glances once in your direction before vanishing behind a cluster of rock. You pause, you bow. These are signs, not omens, but reminders that the world beyond the temple does not sleep while monks chant. It breathes, shifts, observes, and perhaps it waits, in its own way, for this annual tending. Soon, the forest opens slightly. The path flattens, then widens. You recognize the arching shape of the old camphor tree before you see the shrine. Its roots rise from the earth like frozen waves. Its trunk bends slightly to the west, as though it too has been bowing for centuries. Moss carpets its northern side, thick and velvety. There, tucked beneath its reach, is Sukukusian. The shrine is no taller than your chest. Its roof is tiled with bark, and its door is more a shutter than a threshold. A small stone step leads to a platform of smoothed planks recently weathered, but still sound. It does not appear grand, nor should it. Its beauty lies in its humility. You place your bundle down and kneel. The first task is to sweep. You unwrap the straw, broom bound with reed and tightened with twine, and begin to sweep the platform slowly. Pine needles, dust, and scattered. Leaves gather in soft piles. A spider scuttles from the corner, unharmed, finding refuge beneath the camphor roots. The act is gentle, deliberate. You sweep not to clean, but to care. Next, you brush the roof. The bark tiles must be cleared of moss, not all, just enough to let the rain run free. You use your sleeve to wipe the stone base, then your palm to press a prayer into the ground. No words, just touch. You unwrap the incense pot. Its bowl is ceramic, faintly cracked from years of weather. You pour fresh ash inside, pressing it smooth. With the back of your thumb, into this you place 3 short sticks of incense, saved from the temple altar. They are flowered, blessed during the last full moon. You light them. The smoke rises, slowly curving through the air, mingling with mist and slipping into the branches above. It smells of memory. You place the offering next. A simple meal, millet. Balls steamed with burdock and wrapped in lotus leaf. You fold the cloth napkin just so, smoothing the corners as you were taught. You bow 3 times, once for the shrine, once for the earth, once for the path that brought you here. Now you sit, cross-legged before the altar, palms together. Your eyes half close, you breathe, and for a time nothing moves. Not the air, not the leaves, not even the thoughts behind your eyes. It is said that the kami of this shrine is not one known by name. It is not listed in scrolls, no lineage traced. It is simply called Sukukusanokami, the spirit of moongrass, a guardian of small places, of forgotten paths, of the moss that grows slowly where no one walks. You feel it now, not as presence, but as stillness, as awareness, as permission. You sit longer than planned, not out of duty, but because something holds you there. The way moonlight holds a hillside. When you rise, you stretch slowly. Your joints creak. The incense has burned low. The offering bowl is undisturbed. You place a small paper, talisman, inside the shriner folded prayer written at the temple gate. Its ink was mixed with rainwater. Its characters were copied with reverence. It will remain here, tucked in shadow. Until next season, the last task is the lantern. You remove it from your packer squat, paper-wrapped globe with a tiny oil basin inside. You fill it from the small jar in your sleeve. You light it and then place it beside the shrine. Its glow is faint, golden, wavering slightly in the breeze. It will not last the night, but the shrine will remember the light. What places hold there? Power not in presence, but in being remembered. What spirits live not in fame, but in small, forgotten corners, tended by quiet hands that walk long miles just to sweep and sit. Then let us return to the path, dear traveller. The shrine has been tended, the lantern is lit, and though your work is done, the journey is not. Now begins the long walk, home under stars, beside streams, and through the hush of moss-covered hills. the lantern path, and the return. Beneath stars, the sky has darkened. Evening has gathered at the edges of the forest, painting the trees in layers of violet and ash. The lantern by the shrine flickers quietly, its glow more orange now, warming the bark of the camphor tree like the memory of a fire that never quite burns out. You bow once more to the shrine, not a farewell, but a gesture of gratitude, of rhythm, of closing a circle. Then you gather your satchel and begin the return. The trail looks different at dusk, not unfamiliar, but softened. The shadows are deeper. The moss glows faintly in the half-light, catching the last reflections of the fading sky. You walk slower now, not from fatigue, but from reverence. The world has grown quieter, and you do not wish to disturb it. Your sandals brush against leaves and stone. Each step feels heavier, not with burden, but with fullness. You carry no new weight in your arms, but in your chest something has settled. A kind of peace, the kind that arrives not after answers, but after presence. A breeze stirs the treetops. The sound is low, like distant waves. Somewhere to your left, an owl calls. Its voice is rich and hollow, like a bell rung through feathers. You pause and listen, then walk on. The moon rises, not yet full, but bright enough to find your path without lantern. Its light filters through the trees in fractured patterns, dappling the moss, gleaming across puddles. The forest floor glistens in places where the rain lingered earlier in the week. As you pass the stone, marker again the one nearly swallowed by lichen, you stop and kneel. You place a pebble atop it. This too is a form of prayer, not spoken, not written, just placed. You continue. Hunger arrives. Slowly you remove the rice ball from your satchel and sit on a flat stone beside the trail. You eat in silence, chewing slowly. The bamboo leaf unwraps with a soft crackle, its veins pressed into the rice like tiny rivers. Each bite is enough. Each swallow is its own meditation. Afterward, you drink a small mouthful of water from your gourd. It is cool, metallic, and grounding. You rinse your mouth, spit into the underbrush, and bow once before standing. The last stretch of path leads uphill. You take it slowly, pressing your staff into the earth with each step. The sounds of the temple begin to return, not loudly, not clearly, but faint echoes in the air. A bell, a rustle, a distant chant perhaps. Or maybe it's only the wind carrying memory. You reach the gate. It is just as you left it, low, wooden, strung with prayer tags, now stirred by the evening breeze. You pass beneath it and pause. You look back once not at the path, but at the moon. It follows you home, inside. The temple is dim. A single lantern glows in the corridor. You place your staff gently by the door, untie your sandals, and bow to the darkness beyond. You do not speak. No one is waiting to ask where you've been. No one needs to. You roll out your sleeping mat and sit. Your legs throb softly. Your back is warm. You close your eyes and remember the moss, the incense, the sound of a lantern flickering. In the breath of a forest spirit, sleep comes, slowly but surely, like the turning of a leaf in moonlight. Not all pilgrimages are grand. Some lead not to enlightenment, but to a wooden box under a camphor tree. And yet, are they not sacred, too? When done in silence, with clean hands and steady breath, let's now wander into a different time, a different place. And now, let's drift into a new corner of forgotten history. Then wrap yourself in your robe, friend of the quiet. For the wind is colder in these mountains, and life here is stripped of all but what is needed. Let us climb now into the high mists where monks live among rocks and snow, and truth is spoken softly, if at all. Story 8. Feathers, Firewood, and the Four Noble Truths. Monastic life in the mountains' winters. Edge and the feathered cloak. Good evening once again. ... Let your body grow warm beneath your blanket, even as we step into the chill. You are safe here, though snow dusts the path. The mountains hold many truths, whispered through firewood and silence. If these stories bring you peace, feel free to return, but only if the wind says it's time. High in the U Mountains of northern Hampshire, beyond the reach of any road, sits a modest mountain monastery. It has no name on maps, no grand pagoda, no famed relic. It is known only as the Feathered Cloister, a nickname given by travellers who've glimpsed the robes of its monks glinting with bird down in the morning frost. You are one of them, a monk who has chosen the mountain not for escape, but for stripping away all that distracts here. The days are cold, even in spring. The trees are bare more often than they are green. The ground is always soft with snow or ash. The monastery is no more than 5 buildings. 1 for sleep, 1 for sutras, 1 for meals, 1 for firewood and tools, 1 for the oldest monk who lives in a room with no fire and speaks only once per moon. None are heated, save for the fire pit, and even that is allowed to go cold between meals. Your robe is made from rough hemp, lined not with cotton, but with feathers gathered by hand from the mountain forests. Duck, pheasant, crow, whatever was shed, never taken, stitched into an inner layer that crackles faintly as you move. Each morning, you rise before the snowflakes have stopped falling. The others sleep in silence. You light the lamp with a coal from the ash. Bucket no fire is ever allowed to truly die, for fire is life here. You dress in layers, tying your sash with one hand while the other tucks the small talisman into your chest fold, a carved stone, etched with the 4 characters of the Noble Truths. You step outside into air so cold it bites your teeth. The snow is fine, like salt blown sideways. The wind is constant. You pull your hood tighter and begin your walk up the mountain ridge, carrying a wooden bucket in one hand and a dull hatchet in the other. You are going for water. And wood. These are your first lessons here, that every need must be earned and every comfort shared. The path is steep but familiar. Your feet find purchase in frozen moss and narrow ridges. A crow cries once in the trees above, then vanishes. You nod, not as greeting, but as acknowledgement. At the stream moor of a trickle, this season you break the thin ice with a stick, and scoop what water you can. Cold soaks your sleeves. You do not flinch. The pain is sharp, but clean. You fill the bucket and begin your return, stopping along the way to gather fallen limbs and dead roots. Only what is already offered. No branch is broken. Back at the cloister, the others have begun to rise. A fire is coaxed to life in the center pit, its smoke pulled upward by a hole in the roof. No chimney, just time and wood and stone doing what they've done for centuries. You place the water in the pot. You place the wood in the pile. You place yourself in the circle and sit. There is no prayer spoken aloud, only the breathing of fire and the rustle of feathers beneath every robe. One monk hands you a cup of hot barley tea. You bow your head as you accept it. It is bitter, slightly. Smoky, thin but perfect. You drink slowly, letting the warmth spread into your fingertips. The abbot finally speaks. He says only 4 words. Suffering is a teacher. No elaboration, no lesson. The rest is silence. You understand. You stand, bow, and step outside again. The snow has not stopped, but neither have you. Can stillness teach what words cannot? In a place where warmth must be earned, and the wind takes everything but the breath due, we begin to hear something softer beneath the silence. Then let us remain in the high stillness, where snow falls gently, and even suffering arrives as a lesson written in frost. The mountain does not hurry, and neither shall we, splitting wood and listening to ice the day unfolds without a clock. Here, in the mountains, time is told by the wind and the shifting of the light on the snow. When the shadow of the pine tree outside the hall reaches the 3rd roof tile, it is time to split wood. That moment has now come. You carry the hatchet, again older than you, its blade worn smooth, its handle polished by the grip of hands long past. The chopping block is a stump that sits just beyond the storeroom. Under the overhang of a low thatched roof, snow gathers in quiet drifts around its base. You set the first log upright and raise the hatchet not high, but firmly. The cut is clean. It lands with a deep thock, and the wood parts with a whispering sigh. A cloud of frost lifts from the fibers. You split 5 more in slow, steady rhythm. Each motion is deliberate. Each piece will be used for warmth or 2. Boil the soup pot later this evening. Another monk joins you, older, slower. He does not speak. You do not need to speak. You nod, and he begins stacking the finished pieces beside the wall. Together, the sound of your labor becomes its own chant. Wood on wood, breath on cold air, steel through silence. Eventually, your arms ache. You rest the hatchet, brush snow from the stump, and bow once to the pile. Then you return to the garden. Basin to wash your hands. The water is barely above freezing. You wince, but let it pass. The cold reminds you that the body is not permanent. The pain does not linger. It is simply part of the mountain inside. The fire is stronger now. It crackles, with pine and cedar. The smoke smells clean. You warm your hands without placing them too close. There is a kind of etiquette here. No hoarding of heat. The flames are for everyone, and the warmth must be shared slowly, like a teaching. The abbot sits near the hearth, legs folded tightly beneath him, eyes half-lidded in the posture of Zazen. He says, softly, just one phrase, pain comes not from fire, but from clinging to cold. No one responds. A few monks lower their heads in reflection. You rise and carry a small basket of dried mushrooms to the kitchen hut. There, over the fire, a large iron pot is set to boil. You add the mushrooms, a handful of barley, and a pinch of salt saved from last month's trading visit to the valley below. The wind gusts through the open wall, and the flames dance higher. You stir the pot gently. A scent rises, savory, comforting. It reminds you of fallen leaves, of the creak of snow underfoot, of your teacher's hands as he once showed you how to pick mushrooms without disturbing their roots. While the soup simmers, you sit on the step outside the hut and watch the snow fall. It comes in small flakes now, barely visible, catching the light from the hearth behind you. A bird flits past a thrush, its feathers fluffed against the cold. You think of your own cloak, its lining once gathered from feathers shed by birds just like this. You wonder if one of those feathers still lies against your spine. When the soup is ready, it is portioned quietly. No bowls are marked. No names are called. Each monk takes their share, bows, and eats in silence. The meal is hot. It steams your face. The barley is soft, the mushrooms rich with flavor. You chew slowly, swallow with gratitude. This food is not offered to please the senses. It is given to sustain, to honor labor, to remind, afterward, the bowls are washed. In a melted snow basin, you dry yours with a scrap of cloth and set it, warm and clean, on the shelf. You bow once again not to a person, but to the act itself. Even the soup deserves respect. Even the spoon. The sky begins to darken early. Snow clouds roll in once more, heavy and grey. The mountain will soon disappear into mist. But you are not afraid. The fire is strong. The feathers hold tight. The path is quiet but known. You return to your cell. It is small, one mat, one window, one folded robe, one scroll of the Four Noble Truths, etched into bark and pinned above your pillow with a splinter of bone. The wind whistles softly through the gap in the shutter. You sit cross-legged, breathe once, and prepare for the evening sit. When the world is reduced to breath, fire, feather, and snow, what remains? Perhaps not less of life, but more, perhaps. Truth is not revealed in comfort, but in what endures quietly beneath the cold. Then let us settle in for the night. The mountain sleeps beneath its blanket of snow, and so do the monks. But in the silence of this final hour, another kind of warmth begins to stir, one made not of fire, but of understanding. Night watch and the unseen kindling, the light has faded completely now. Only a faint moon glows above the mountaintops, veiled by clouds. The snow has stopped falling, but its stillness remains settled across rooftops. Nestled in footprints, clinging to the edges of straw sandals lined along the veranda, you sit in the sleeping hall with the others. Each monk has his mat, his robe, his breath. The fire in the center pit has been allowed to shrink to coals, covered loosely with ash to hold their glow until morning. No one speaks, no one stirs. Only the occasional creak of timber or scythe. Wind breaks the hush. Sleep does not come quickly here. It arrives slowly, like snow drifting onto stone. You lie back on your mat and adjust your feathered cloak. It's down, pressed flat from use, but still warm. The feathers shift slightly as you breathe, brushing softly against the inner cloth. Your body is tired, but your mind is calm. You think of the wood you split earlier, of the soup you stirred, of the abbot's words. Pain comes not from fire, but from clinging to cold. You wonder, what else do you cling to? A bell chimes faintly, not the large ceremonial bell, but the hollow knock of a wooden clapper struck twice. It is your turn for night watch. You rise quietly, wrap your cloak, and step into the corridor. The floorboards are cold against your feet, but not painfully so. You light a small lantern from the still warm coals in the hearth and make your way through the complex. The wind has risen again. It hums through the rafters and across the stone paths outside. You check the kitchen, fire-banked, steady. You brush snow from the entry step. You shake out the sleeve of a novice's robe left hanging too near the open air. None of this is dramatic, but all of it matters. As you pass the old monk's hut, the one who speaks only once a moon, you pause. His shutters are closed, but you see the faint glow of a candle within. You bow, knowing he is awake. He, too, keeps watch in his own way. You walk the perimeter path. The lantern casts long shadows across the snow. Each step is marked, but soon softened. You reach the far edge, where the trail disappears into the woods. You listen. Nothing stirs. Only the sound of wind brushing pine needles and the gentle creak of ice as it shifts along the stream bank. Breathe deeply. The air is so clean, it stings. Your breath clouds outward, then vanishes. You remember something the abbot once said. Long ago, during your first winter, the four noble truths are not something to know. They are something to carry, like wood, like water, like a lantern through snow. You stand still for a long time, just breathing, just holding the lantern, just watching the moon behind its veil of frost. And then something shifts inside you, not a revelation, not a flash of insight, just peace, a kind of warmth not physical, but deeper, as if the teachings, the snow, the feather cloak, and your own breath have braided themselves into something whole. You turn back toward the temple. Your watch ends soon. Another monk will rise. The fire will be stirred. The day will begin again with rice, with cold, with prayer. But for now, you return the lantern to its hook. You remove your cloak, fold it neatly, and lie once more on your mat. You close your eyes and let the mountain carry you into sleep. Perhaps the greatest truths are not those spoken, but those held in silence, not written in ink, but walked in snow, not shouted from temples, but whispered through wood smoke and feathers and breath. Let's now wander into a different time, a different place. And now, let's drift into a new corner of forgotten history.